Hello, I'm Sharon Harrell, Community Engagement Manager at the Detroit Institute of Arts. Thank you for tuning into Black History Month events at the DIA. Black History Month programming is made possible by the generous support of Arn and Nancy Tellum, with additional support provided by TD Bank. Welcome to The Art of Business, a celebration of African American entrepreneurs, featuring 4 local businesses: Burn Rubber Sneaker Boutique, Cream Blends, the Leaf Me Plant Boutique, and Northwest Gallery of Art. The panel will be moderated by Jasmine DeForest, a Detroit native inspired by creative innovation and vision. Jasmine leads and maintains a diverse portfolio of Detroit-based strategic community investments to support inclusive events and programming that attract diverse audiences and contributes to the economic growth of the city. Thank you, Jasmine, for leading today's discussion, and I'll hand the virtual floor to you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. And good morning, everyone, on this Sunday. I guess happy Valentine's Day to those of you who are celebrating Valentine's Day as well today. And thank you to the DIA for having us here this morning, as well as to all of the sponsors and all those who helped to curate this panel. I am honored to be here with this A-list group of multi-hyphenated entrepreneurs as we discuss their experiences, as well as the artistry behind their success. I am going to kick it off with one of my favorite people, Yolanda Williams, CEO and co-founder of Cream Blends Skincare, and I said multi-hyphenated, and the owner and chief content officer for the Distinct Life Creative Agency. Thank you, Yolanda, for being here.
Hi, Jazz. I love your shirt.
Hey. Distinct Life. You know, I got a whole Distinct Life pack over here.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. And Alexis Sims, founder of Leaf Me Plant Boutique. Welcome, Alexis. Thank you for being here.
And Hi, thank you for having me.
And then, you know, this is someone else that I've known for 10 plus years. We first met when I launched my first business, Wordplay, back in the day, which is also when I met Yolanda. And, you know, Rick and this gentleman here, Ro Coit, were one of the first ones to actually give me a chance with my business, Wordplay, and selling my T-shirts that represented Chosen and had Chosen on them. So this one right here is also near and dear to my heart, and I will never forget the opportunity that Rick and Ro gave me at that time. Ro is the owner and co-founder of Burn Rubber Sneaker Boutique. He is also, which is known across the country. He's also a DJ, a brand ambassador, artist, plus. Remember, I said multi-hyphenated. We have an A-list group here. So thank you, Ro, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And finally, we have Asia Hamilton, founder of the Northwest Gallery, and she is also an esteemed photographer. Thank you for being here, Asia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I'm, you know, happy to be here as we celebrate, of course, Black History Month. We know with all this melanin on this panel that we celebrated 365, 7 days a week, right? But we are here to talk about the art of business. And, you know, we're going to kick things off with you, Asia, you know, especially based on the title of the panel. You've had a 20-year career as a photographer, and you've worked with major companies such as InStyle Magazine, Ford Motor Company, and Plant Moran. And we all know here that entrepreneurship takes commitment, it takes courage. And, you know, it takes a lot of courage to take that idea and bring that idea into reality. So what made you commit to the idea of launching an art gallery? Like, what was it that said, you know what, this is an idea, I kind of want to do it, but what made you actually launch it?
Well, you know, like you said, I'm an artist myself. So there was a need. I saw a need. It was definitely a need to have a all Black space, gallery space specifically in the Detroit area. And just, in the atmosphere, period. There aren't enough Black art spaces, Black art galleries, Black curators. That is just the need in the art community. So that was the main thing. And then the other reason would be opening it up on this side of town was because this is the area that I grew up in. So why not have a art space in the community that you grew up, and have art right down the street from someone's house.
Definitely. I got to give a shout out to Rosedale Park, because that's actually, you're not that far from me. I live in the Rosedale Park area. And so thank you for bringing art to this community and to this neighborhood. And we see your beautiful space behind you as well. So, and I'm going to ask the same question to everyone on the panel. Ro, like with Burn Rubber, what made you and, your co-founder back then, what was that, 10, 12 years ago, before, I felt like before sneakerheads were sneakerheads and before it was like a trend, like you all were ahead of the curve. So what made you say, this is a cool idea, but you know what, I'm going to actually open up a store and make this happen?
Yeah, so it was a cool idea, but I think more than anything, it was our passion at the time. It was what we were into. And at that point, it's putting yourself in a position with your passion to be able to make money. And and then opportunity rose, and we kind of made it happen. But I think more than anything, it's what both of us were 100% into at that time.
And were you all like sneaker heads? Like, was this something that you were like, we love sneakers, so you know what, let's just do it? Because again, I must say that as far as I was concerned, like there might have been sneaker boutiques that I might have visited, like in LA, etc., but it wasn't really popping off here,
right,
like it is now. And you were ahead of the curve. So, I think that sneakerheads across the Detroit area, need to know that. And, it's mad respect to Burn Rubber for really being ahead of the curve for that.
Yeah, I mean, we were sneakerheads, as far as myself, I tell people when we talk about like how long have you been into sneakers, and some of my oldest memories, like from I don't remember what I was doing at 1 or 2, but like at 6, I remember some of my memories at that age that I actually remember involved me like paying attention to certain sneakers or trying to get that sneaker, or mad because my parents couldn't afford it. So yes, I've always been, it's like, it's of me, you know what I mean? So, and at that, and another thing I wanted to add, at that time, like you said, there wasn't in Detroit, the term boutique was not really a thing especially when it came to sneakers, because we would go to the mall, we would go to Foot Locker, we would go, to wherever. So we kind of saw the void and tried to fill the void, had an opportunity to do so. So yeah, it worked out. It was like you kind of seasoning this gumbo, stir the pot, and you got this amazing meal.
I love it. And AKA Yolanda. I know that you are one of the most creative people that I know, and we have both over the years gone back and forth over different business ideas, and I come to you all like if I'm thinking about relaunching my brand. But what was it that made you say, you know what, I'm going to launch a skincare company and call it Cream Blends and make it happen?
So thanks, Jazz. Don't call me Yo, because this is the DIA.
We got to be professional here.
I'm gonna be
real professional. I know it's Black History Month, but it's Yolanda. So I started Cream Blends literally out of just a sheer desire for freedom. When Rick and Ro started Burn Rubber in 2007, I was still working in corporate America. I was still getting the health insurance that we needed for our family. So I think what really pushed me to start my own company was that freedom. I hated, being in the position where I had to go and ask for permission if my child was sick from school, or if I needed to take a day off, or if Rick was out of town again at an agenda trade show and I didn't have people to come pick my kids up. So for me, it was always about freedom. And then of course the name Cream Blends came from Rick and I. He was already a branding genius. So we started coming up with different names, and he's a hardcore Wu-Tang fan. So Cream Blends really means, cash rules everything around me. And we added the blends, and we wanted to create something that we knew would be a necessity for the market, something that a customer would come back month after month. You have to have soap, you have to have lotion. So starting in a business that offered essentials was my goal. But it was the freedom at first. It wasn't like I had a dream and went to sleep like I'm going to be, making body butters in my kitchen. It was, I want to be free from corporate America. Not that I hated it, but as a mother, I'm always going to choose my children and my family first. So even when I would ask for time off, it was just me asking out of courtesy. I was leaving anyway. So freedom was always the goal for me.
That's real. And you'll always be an inspiration to me for that. I mean, just thinking of, I understand, especially, in different spaces and wanting and having that desire to have that certain level of freedom, as well as the freedom to create your own income and, make your own rules and your own schedule and all those sorts of things. Yeah. And Miss Alexis, with all of the beautiful plants in the background, what made you commit to this idea of launching Leaf Me Plant Boutique?
Well, we're only 7 months old. We started in the middle of the pandemic, and that was the motivation. I had the idea about a year prior, so summer 2019, when my mom gave me some plants, and they just really helped me get through like this terrible time I was having. So fast forward a year later, my grandmother passed away, and a month later we were in a pandemic, and I was like, well, I can't be the only one needing some encouragement. I can't be the only one tired of looking at these walls. Like, what could I do? And so I was like, you know what, that thing you wanted to do a year ago, now is the time. And I did it. I bought some plants, I built a website, and I just started.
I love it. And one of the things that I do love, and we're going to talk about, the impact of COVID a little bit later, but one of the things that I did see as kind of like a positive that came from it is that it forced people to get back to nature and understanding the benefits and the holistic benefits around wellness that is here naturally in the earth, right? Being able to go out for a walk, being able to see the birds, plants. A lot of people became plant mom and dads. And so yours was right on time because, as you can see, I have the plant behind me. I was just mentioning that, she, and I did give her, assign her a gender, but she is we call her baby girl. So her mom is 30 plus years old and is with my mom. And so, just thank you for being able to bring a business to the market that really created a lot of peace for folks. So thank you for that. And we know that, there's creativity and artistry that's weaved throughout entrepreneurship, right? Even if you're launching a plumbing business, there is something at the foundational level that involves creativity, that involves art, whether if that's creating your logo, creating the name, Yolanda, the story behind your name, as well as what your website looks like. And it's the idea, and then you have the creating the process of creating your actual brand identity, right? And some people think that that's something that just happens overnight. And for some people, it does happen overnight. You have the idea, it happens, and you're like, this is the name, we're going to do it. This is what it's going to look like. But for others, it may take a little bit more. I remember back in the day with wordplay, it was big cartel. There was no, there was no like Shopify. There was like no sites like that. Like I was using big cartel. I was making my own logo, all that type of stuff. Right. And so Yolanda, I remember when you first launched Cream Blends and being hype seeing you on TV. I don't know if it was Channel 4 or Channel 7, but we had known each other for a long time prior to that. And I was just incredibly proud of you. And you were at the time, like literally, I know you told me to be professional, but you were literally at the time whipping up work in your kitchen. So to see the growth, you know, can clap and kudos to you for that growth and for you taking freedom, the idea of being free, into something that has become a viable business for you and your family. And you're also the chief content officer for the Distinct Life creative agency. You're a writer, you're an amazing storyteller. How did you create the brand identity for Cream Blends, and what went into that process?
Thanks, Jazz. That was amazing. I didn't even pay her to say that, so I appreciate that. So the branding side, of course, came from, I had started formulating the recipes and everything for the skincare products, but Rick literally is like the branding genius behind Cream Blends, because he came to me, he said we wanted to have a clean aesthetic, something that would that would last for years to come. So he came up with the branding and everything for that. And he always, told me, like, even though, we're a Black entrepreneur couple, the branding, when we put it on the shelves, when I got it into Whole Foods within 2 months of starting the brand, I don't necessarily need people to look at it and see, a fist on the cover or on the label showing that we're Black owned. I wanted the quality to be something to where they look at the branding, they look at the glass jars and the packaging that we use, and when they find out that it's Black owned, they're like, oh my God, like I had no idea that this brand can sit amongst other brands that have millions and millions of dollars invested into their companies. So the branding and everything came from us sitting down, deciding who our target customer was. We knew that, we weren't a Jergens brand customers. No shade to Jergens, but our product is $20. Many people were like, well, people were saying things like, well, Jergens is $6. I said, that's not my target market, and that's not who I'm going after. We wanted people that were keen on quality products, on Michigan-made products, on Black-owned products. So we touched every single jar that we make. So the branding, we just been heavily involved in the process since 2013.
I love it. And Rose, same for you. I remember with Burn Rubber that the logo for Burn Rubber is like iconic, and you have taken that literally across. I mean, you have, worked with so many different influencers, magazines, been featured, all of those sorts of things. So talk a little bit more about the brand identity, whether if it's for Burn Rubber or even the brand identity for yourself and everything that you have done since launching and starting Burn Rubber.
Branding is like first and foremost. It's kind of like it's the first thing that people are going to see when they come across you, right? So there's a lot of thought, a lot of a crazy process into it, but sometimes it just kind of falls in your lap. So with Burn Rubber, me and Rick took over in 2007, and we wanted to keep the name. We thought the name was really good, but we didn't really have we didn't really have a logo or something like that, right? We had the name Burn Rubber in a regular font, and then we were cleaning out the office, and I can't remember if it was him or me, but we came across an old employee was like doodling or kind of just he was like at work doing t-shirt designs or just kind of sketching, and we saw it and was like, yo, that would be dope on a hat. And then it just kind of came, and then it turned into we put it on a hat, and it was too long to it was like a full body. So the New Era rep told us to take the body off because it had too much detail and just use the head. And at that point, we were like, we were just happy to have a New Era hat. And then, the next thing, I think the first two artists that purchased our hats was Big Sean. Actually, it was three: Big Sean, Mike Posner, and Marv One. And we told them at that point, because they purchased it, that they would never have to buy a hat from us again as long as we made them. So it was, and then all my other brands kind of stem from that. All my other brands kind of, that same process. It's like you don't force anything. You come up with something that looks appealing or that looks professional, and then you kind of put yourself into it.
I love it. And Alexis, Leaf Me.
So Leaf Me came from me just playing around trying to think of names. I had purchased the domain and everything a year prior, and I think that just sort of came to me. But as far as the brand and like who we are online, I think it was important to me that I focused on using the plants as symbols of ourselves, and I tried to like have little symbolic messages and everything that go out with each plant and the care information. And they just teach me so much. The earth has so much to teach me, and I think that all of us can learn a thing or two from plants. So that's who I think I try to be, like online on the websites and things like that. The colors came from gifts that the plants give me. So the blue that you see is calmness. The pink is compassion. I really had to learn to be compassionate to myself and others. I'm a very quick, I move with a sense of urgency a lot, and I don't like to fail. Even though I'm not afraid of it, I just, no one enjoys it, but I think I try to avoid that, and instead of trying to just learn lessons as I go. So that was a thing in green, growth, and the leaf on the logo, it looks like a dumb cane leaf, and the dumb cane is my favorite plant. So the name sort of came to me, but I did sort of a lot of thinking when it came to communicating who I wanted people to remember Leaf Me as. So.
That's great. And Alexis, you hit on a few different nuggets, one, your domain name and, getting your domain name, and then, also just thinking about like your packaging and all of those sorts of things. And so I know what that experience was like. And when you decided to was it easy? Was Leave Me immediately available? Just like, let's do like a quick pivot around that, because I know what it's like to go on to those sites and you're searching for the name that you want, and then you find out that somebody else has it.
The worst. So for me, I actually build websites for people too. So I always say, try .com, but if they don't have .com, get .co. And in that moment, I had to use my own advice. I think they wanted like $3,000 for leafme.com. And I was like, yeah, no, I can't do that. So I went to, I did leafme.co, and I think I bought shop leafme.co. So you really just got to get creative. And I think creativity starts from that point. Before you get a photo shoot, before you make a logo, that domain, you have to, sometimes it has to be a phrase. Sometimes it has to be, like something that isn't literally what the DBA is or the LLC is. So it's important to keep an open mind about that, and don't be discouraged by it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say something about that. And it's dope that she said that, because, a lot of people put a lot of time and a lot of energy into this thought, that is of an exact, it's like, oh no, I wanted Leaf Me. It's not Leaf Me. I can't do it. But ultimately, almost anything could be branded. I learned that over the years, like, yes, Nike has a check, right? What does that have to do with sneakers? It has nothing to do with shoes, but they branded it, and they took that, and the chef, the burnt rubber chef, has nothing to do with sneakers or clothes, but it's you take that, and you take something that you like or that you enjoy, and you put your all into it, so that's perfect what she said. I never even thought about .co, but and another thing I was gonna say is that when you said when people, your idea is already taken, and it also what happens when people steal your logo. I mean, not your logo, but steal your your website. Somebody stole our website name or Instagram name. It was crazy, but we just changed it, flipped it, and keep going. Because when you're doing what you're doing the right way, people are going to find you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that could be discouraging too, Rose. So I'm glad that you pointed that out, like really just to keep going. Because I know even for me that it is difficult, especially when you already have nerves or you're hesitant about launching the business itself and you're trying to muster up the courage to do it. And then you get hit with these like roadblocks or barriers. And, each hurdle that you jump over takes a certain level of courage to really stick to it and stay committed to the idea. Because like you said, like that might take somebody out. If somebody stole a website or kind of like your branding or a similar name, that might make somebody, want to quit their business or, feel like it's over.
You got to let Jesus take the wheel.
And it only gets harder, right? Like it's only
sure.
going to be something else, on the next phase of your business that it's, you're going to have to channel that same creativity. You're going to have to create that same agility and that same ability to adjust. So you kind of got to get used to it.
Yeah, it's about figuring it out. What I tell people all the time is like when I took that quote unquote leap, it's like imagine standing in a dark room, right? It's completely black, no lights, right? And somebody tells you you're at the edge, and you gotta jump down. You don't know how far it is. It could be a manhole, or it could be 1 inch step down. And a lot of the times people get caught up and get scared to take that leap or take that step. And a lot of the times it's not a fall to your death, right? It's not like you're jumping off a cliff. What it is it's a step down. It's like literally 1 step. And then you get down on that step and you take another step, and then those steps start going up. And that's what it is. So a lot of times in your mind, you get caught up in like, oh my God, I don't know what's in front of me. And it's like, it's, if the lights were on, it would still be the same thing. Mm-hmm. And you just got to take that leap, a step of faith, I always say.
So you all are making me pivot from the questions a little bit because, and I love this. It's not necessarily pivoting, but I had this on my list of questions, but I just wasn't sure that we were going to be able to get to this. But one of the things that, Alexis and Ro have both kind of mentioned is just this idea of failure. And I've seen situations where, you have kind of like talking heads that are like, billionaires and millionaires, like failure is a part of the process. Like, you're going to fail. And you hear these stories of most successful entrepreneurs have failed, right? Mm. But then we still, to Alexis's point, we still have, whether if you're a type A personality or whether if it is that you just want to succeed and be the best at what you're doing, there still is that fear of failure, because no one wants to go into anything. I don't want to go into my work, entrepreneurship, whatever, thinking that I'm going to fail, right? So you're going to go in it giving 100+%, right? But, how do you all kind of handle that idea and kind of getting over the piranhas in your head, or even a time that you might have failed, or, that you might have made an error, and what stopped you from giving up? And I'll toss it to Asia on this one, and then we'll go to Yolanda.
Yes. As you were talking about failure, I was like, it's really hard to fail when you start from nothing. So if you come from down here and you can't do nothing but go straight up. But throughout the time that I've been, I've had businesses, and I was just kind of joking about that, I've just really just kept it going. Like, there's no choice. When it's your livelihood, you just have to keep going. I've had situations where, I've had like learning curves, and, it's like, I might not have shouldn't have done that. But you just take note of those things and don't do it again.
Bottom line, right. Bottom line, look, at the end of the day, because in failure and even in personal relationships and, life itself, like you don't gain wisdom without making mistakes and, making errors, right? So Yolanda, like, how do you overcome that fear of failure, or have you failed and, how did you bounce back from it?
Failure is inevitable. And I feel like you don't learn really from the things that go right. You learn from the things that go wrong and how to pivot. So let's say with Cream Blends, I started in 2013. I ended up in, a major retail, on the shelves of a major retailer within 2 months. So there were a lot of things that I didn't necessarily know, but I wasn't going to say no to the opportunity. And I'm not going to go in looking all scared, like I don't know what I'm doing. So I faked it till I made it. Mm-hmm. And learning things like, okay, if my body butters are stored at a temperature higher than 70 degrees in a warehouse, they will melt, they will be compromised. I had to learn what it was like to lose thousands of dollars worth of product in order to be able to tell another retailer or a fulfillment center, my product has to be stored in a temperature controlled facility in order for it to survive. So if I hadn't lost the thousands of dollars in product on my own watch, I would have then shipped to a Whole Foods or wherever and lost product on their watch, and they're not going to pay for product that is compromised. So I always feel like failure is inevitable, and there are the opportunities and the things that you learn from the most. So even when people come to me and they're like, how do I start a skincare brand? Or, I want you to tell me everything that you know. I tell them, no, you got to sometimes fail. You have to learn on your own. Sometimes those thousands of dollars is the best money ever wasted and spent at the same time. Like, those are the opportunities and the things that have taught me how to persevere, not give up. Retail, dealing with slow months when you're in retail, and there's just a lot of opportunities and moments where you grow, and it's just necessary. So you have to bounce back from it, or if not, I wouldn't suggest being an entrepreneur if you're afraid of failure, because it's gonna happen. I think did we lose you, Jess?
No, I think she's muted. I'm muted.
Oh, is she?
She might have got cut off.
I think she's frozen. So who's
going? So how about those Pistons? Guys? How's the weather over there? Unmute.
Yeah, unmute.
I was gonna comment on that though, as far as the failure. A lot of times, I really haven't had. I know y'all like, what you haven't had? I've had failures in other things, but the gallery has been off the chain, and it's really because it's a community thing, and it's obviously God put this here. It really ain't for me at all. This is for the community and space, and so it is. Everything, funding, everything just rained down on me. But one of the things, it hasn't really been failure, but really, having a belief in yourself, and not doubting yourself. You can start a failure in to me would be like, can I do this? Is this for, do I have the capabilities or whatever? And, some of the things that have helped me to overcome that have been, just really saying it to yourself, I can do this, and just doing it, really jumping into it. And even if you're afraid, just do it. I've met some people and they, CEOs or people with, all of these accolades and stuff, and immediately can be very, intimidated in that field. I'm an artist. I've had, I have my degree. I've done all of these things, but still, when it come into these spaces and have to talk about what I do, You know, it's just really a matter of, you know, jumping over that fear and continuing on and not even allowing it to stop you. So even if you feel like you are, you don't know if you're good enough, or you don't know if you're supposed to be in that space or whatever it is, just like you said, fake it till you make it, act like it, and get the job done. And
Asia,
it'll pay off in the end.
Asia, you know how you said, like, when you come from the bottom, it really is no, like, I tell people all the time, I know how to be poor really well. So, you know, like, we can still survive, we can still live, you know, and when you're from Detroit, you're like, you can have a little bit and still thrive out here. But I feel like you get these people who come from so much, once they get failure, they're the ones that are, you know, jumping off buildings when their stocks fail, or when they're, you know, like, we know how to go back to doing what we were doing before. So I think that makes it a lot easier, because I'm like, I'll just start over. If I lost it all, I'll make something else. So,
And
I agree with you.
I think, can you all hear me now?
Yeah, you back.
I had to change locations. You know how you get that? We all, I'm sure you in the virtual audience, and especially with working from home, you all probably get those messages that's like, go into an area that's closer to your router. And I'm like, I don't even know what my router looks like. So that's what I'm working with over here. So thank y'all for keeping the conversation going. And to your point, Yolanda and Asia, we are survivors. And I think that to a certain degree, that is innately in us, entrepreneurs or not. You know, as Black people, as people of color, depending on your situation, we were raised in essentially, in many cases, in survivalist mode, right? And so when we think about the identity and we think about brand identity, the identity of being Black entrepreneurs, right? You know, have you all ever experienced moments of that you felt like you've been in a situation where you've experienced bias or the impact of inequity as it relates to your business? And how do you respond to that? And how did you respond to it? I will go Asia.
Who me? Who me? You know, I experienced a lot of bias, like, as an artist specifically. You know, coming out of school in the photography field, I worked at a lot of publications, and, you know, it was mostly white male dominated. And, you know, being a photographer was, you know, I would get this like, oh, you know, well, you should work on it a little bit more, or, you know, oh, you're not quite there yet. And I was cranking, you know, but they was just, you know, trying to get this, you know, put it in my head that I wasn't anything as a photographer. So, you know, I really had to, again, we're talking about that, that self-doubt or just, you know, really, you know, putting it in my head that, look, you know, this is what I can do. But when you deal with things, the moral of the story is you just got to really, you know, you just got to keep the party going. You got to keep going. When you're dealing with those types of things. And if you need some counseling, then go ahead and grab some of that too. But
we all need counseling.
Right.
Okay.
Real counseling, not prayer, bro. Black people. You can do prayer and counseling too, y'all.
Therapy.
Right.
Therapy.
Yeah.
Therapy.
Y'all gotta stop with that.
Jesus.
Therapy.
Jesus be a therapist.
Yolanda,
Okay.
what about you? Yolanda, what about you in your experience, especially working with the brands that you've worked with, the different brand partnerships that you've had over the years?
I do think there is a lot, you know, there are issues that come up. I haven't, you know, necessarily let it define or stop me from anything, but I know being in Whole Foods, like when Whole Foods requires that, you know, when I was in there, that you do demos of your product. So a lot of times I would be doing demos and I would ask people, you know, would you like to sample the product? And there would be, you know, white women that came in there and they say, oh, you know, I've been supporting this brand for years. Like I'm good. And I would say, you know, thank you. And they would look at me like, oh, it's you? Like, yeah, it's me. So a lot of times they come in expecting us to be the managers, the workers. Don't even, their first thought sometimes isn't that you're the owner of the brand. But then I've also received it on the other end with Black people. to where we feel like the moment anything goes wrong, I'm trying to support Black businesses, and this, my USPS is delayed in my package, and the first thing we throw out is, this is why I don't support Black businesses, is if I have enough clout to control the United States Postal Service in the midst of a pandemic or COVID. So I feel like sometimes we'll go into Target, we'll go into McDonald's, and they get your order wrong a lot of times, and we still keep showing up. A Black business that we're immediately going on their page and scorching them because we sometimes use it and hold it over people's heads like, I'm supporting you because you're a Black business. And I'm like, no, I have a quality product that I provided to you. If Rick was selling a shoe at Burn Rubber or whatever, you got a product. Distinct Life, you got a product, and it was a quality product. But sometimes I feel like people approach it like, as soon as something goes wrong, they'll celebrate you, but they'll also not celebrate you and throw that whole "you're a Black business" at you as well. So I don't know if y'all experienced that, but it can be tough at times.
Yeah, Alexis, you look like you want to chime in. I think it's something to say even about the surprise element, and people being surprised that you're a Black-owned business. I think that, when you think about systematic racism and you think about the preconceived notions that come with that, my hope is that eventually it will get to the point that people who don't look like us won't be surprised that we can actually create, and even people who look like us won't be surprised that we can create quality products and successful businesses. Alexis, were you going to chime in?
Yeah, I just agreed with everything Yolanda was saying. I think me and UPS have this ongoing thing where these are living things. They don't want to be cold. They don't want to be thrown around, and people receive stuff sometimes. And it's like, I'm trying to support a Black business, and it's like, I appreciate you, but like this was not in my control. And I think if a bigger plant retailer did this, you wouldn't have anything like this to say. So sometimes it is sort of hard, and I think I'm just getting started, so it's gonna be harder for a while too. And I think of like Black businesses. I sometimes sort of struggle because I wonder if when people say Black-owned businesses, they sort of have this subtle thought of like there's business and then there's Black-owned business. And I sort of wonder, what that means to my base and, people who support Black businesses in general. But as far as bias goes, I think my struggle in my industry is that there aren't enough Black people in it. And so I think I dream of a world where I can have a Black plastic manufacturer, I can have a Black grower. Most of my plants come from Florida and things like that. And I think I'm at the retail side of it, and I hope to go to other pieces of it. But I think dealing with white farmers and white growers, they definitely, like, I've had a couple instances where they just give you what they want you to have and things like that. So not necessarily barriers, but definitely hurdles and obstacles.
Definitely. And I mean, I know, that is just something that I think we will continue to have, but we will also continue to strive, and we will continue to get over those hurdles. And definitely, it's like nothing can stop us. I mean, and that's something that's in our blood, right? Like it's in our blood to keep going. And I want to make sure that I double back and point out one thing that Yolanda said as well is, and Ro is, when you're going through this process of thinking about entrepreneurship, lean on people that you trust in your circle to share your ideas with, to bounce ideas with. And then, if the struggles and the stress and the anxiety gets too tough, there is nothing wrong with ever reaching out and finding a qualified therapist if you have access to that. Definitely a fan of good therapy. So we can't, we're gonna close things out because I do want to give the virtual audience time to ask some questions. But I can't leave this, and we can't leave this without talking about COVID and the year of 2020. I had in January, at the top of January, one of my friends saw a meme that said it felt like it was December 40th, 2020, because, you know, it's like some of the same things are still going on. And with 2020, we saw, of course, COVID-19, the pandemic that created so much havoc, caused so much loss of life, loss of businesses, loss of, you know, peace of mind, loss of a lot of different things. But then we also collectively grieve the loss of Black life, whether if it was Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, you know, and others. And we're still dealing with that. And even the PTSD that's caused from seeing a lot of those things happening. But there were also the uprisings and people unifying across the globe around Black life. And, you know, I believe to a certain degree that COVID-19 really forced entrepreneurs and small businesses and even large businesses to push the boundaries of creativity in terms of how you pivoted. And so can we talk a little bit about running your business like during COVID, and if you had any moments of doing the pandemic pivot throughout that process? I will toss it to you, because I feel like you are you ready to jump in.
I definitely had to make some pivots. I know with us, we were, you know, we took it very seriously. One of my staff members, Olivia, her mother passed away in April from COVID. She was, you know, in her 50s, perfectly, you know, fine. So for me, once that happened, you know, just seeing how important it was to make sure that I kept my employees safe. We stopped people from coming into the factory to shop. And you know, some people were, you know, they would get upset about things like that, but this real life still over here, and people are still losing people and going into work every single day. So for us, you know, of course, we had the face shields and masks and temp checks and all of that. But just making sure that your staff is, you know, is good, like beyond just doing a day-to-day job, checking in and seeing how they're managing. Like people were literally losing loved ones left and right and going back into work. I can't ignore that and just start piling tasks and stuff on you. So if I have to shut down for a couple weeks, if I can't ship, it is what it is, because at the end of the day, we're all about building family and community. And we can't do that. Just say, you know, just approaching it like we have a job and a product to get out. You can wait for the body butter. I have staff and people that are going through. And so COVID also prevented a lot of our ingredients and things from being, you know, were delayed. You can't get shea butter from Africa if there's a delay or shortage of staff in those areas. So I don't have shea butter, almond oil, rapeseed oil that come from different manufacturers. Everything was slowed down. So I didn't mind the slowdown. I feel like, you know, it allowed us to get some time to, you know, to really think about our why and pivot and, you know, make sure that we're ordering double and triple for the next pandemic, because this isn't over, you know, and things like this can happen again. So for us, we just adjusted how we were doing things.
Yeah. And Asia, you know, you having, you know, a brick and mortar space that people can actually go in and go into the gallery. I know that you've hosted events in the past, all of those sorts of things. How did COVID-19 affect and impact the way that that you are doing business now?
Definitely, it impacted this business very specifically because I caught COVID myself and had to take time off. I caught COVID, and then my mom caught COVID, and she passed from COVID. So the gallery really just had to be shut down completely. And I want to just take this time specifically to thank the Detroit community for like rallying around the gallery and just really being there. Like, you know, you think that you wonder like the work that you're doing, if people appreciate it and if they're like paying attention, or, you know, like, are they coming to the gallery? Are they really feeling the vibes that I'm trying to give them, you know? And they like really rallied around and made sure that we kept our doors open. And that's something that you could really, think about is, opening up to the community and letting them know that you're vulnerable. It's a village out here, and we need to take care of each other, especially when, everybody else is like, shutting it down. This is why we're having, riots and all types of things going on because, of the injustices. And if we can really take some time to take care of each other, that helps. But another thing that we did, because we had to close the doors, was we had to get a serious online presence and quick. We had to, at that time, we didn't have any e-commerce site at all. It was just everything was in the gallery, and we had to set up a space where art could be bought online. It could be viewed online as like a gallery. So that was something that was a pivot that we did right then and there. Also, we beefed up our content on social media so that we could continue to, continue to engage people. We continue to we had a whole program online called the Artist Takeover, where we had 12 Black artists, display the art that they love the most, as well as display art that encourages, other people, as well as their own personal art. So it was an opportunity for them to showcase themselves, as well as big up other Black artists that, were near and dear to them. So, we ran different programs online to keep people engaged, as well as created a nice, strong online platform and e-commerce site so people could actually purchase and view the art.
That's awesome, Asia. And one of the things that I'm glad that you mentioned was the digital transformation that your business went through, and bringing your business online, because a lot of businesses that were used to doing business solely through brick and mortar business, they did not have an online presence. And so meaning that, you can go online, you can purchase items, all of those sorts of things. And I am so happy that you healed and recovered from COVID-19 as well as your family, because I know that had to be extremely terrifying. So
Yes,
definitely thank you that you recovered. I have a question here that just popped up in the chat, and one is let's see here. How much time does running your business consume? So I guess this person is asking maybe about how much time you dedicate to your businesses. I want to make sure that that I'm getting that right. So I'm interpreting that as, how much time do you dedicate to your business, and maybe how do you manage your time within that? Yolanda, I know you have a whole family, your businesses, plural, plus you're a mom as well as a wife. So how much does your business consume, and how do you manage your time?
Well, my business consumes me 24/7. Even when I'm not working, I'm still working. So I've had to kind of create that balance of, that's why I don't sell any product out of the house. Like, customers will come and say, hey, can you just grab it from the factory and I'll pick it up at your house. I don't do anything else at my home because it started spilling over into me not being present with my sons. So you go to the factory, I have employees that are there. You can order online, can't pick it up from me. I don't have any in my purse. I had to stop that because this whole selling CDs out the trunk, you do that in the beginning. But it started being overwhelming for me. And I tell people, after 9 o'clock, I'm done. Like, I don't want people texting me about business or any of that. So I just kind of put my phone on do not disturb and focus on, my boys, because what I don't want is to be raising two kids that resent my business because I was never there. Their father was never there. So we're big on, making sure we balance that out. 2 weeks, we are literally unplugging. I'm taking them, away just to focus on them.
Yeah, especially with COVID and homeschooling now. And Ro, I know that you are, a family man yourself, and you're doing a lot of different things. You're a brand ambassador. You've hosted events, all sorts of things. And so how do you balance being an entrepreneur with also being a family man and, and everything else?
I don't even know. To be honest, I just kind of go and figure it out until my body shuts down, and then I take a couple days off, and then I'm right back to it. But to answer the question, I think it's 24 hours for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm even going to sleep thinking about what's next, or what I can create, or how can I flip this, or how can I, or looking forward to the morning because I got to get up and I got to do this. And it never cuts off. It never cuts off. So I am always in a space where I'm looking for a balance. I just try to go above and beyond in every aspect of my life. Like, even with my kids, with my wife. With some people, kind of miss out. Like a little extended family. When my head is down and I'm working, it's not it's like a blame it on my a head, not my heart. I don't get to see friends and family as much. I mean, friends and extended family as much as I used to. But like I said, it was times that I was just telling the story of I went on tour a couple years ago. And I flew back home for my daughter's, like, she was like in kindergarten or something like that, recital, like Friday school, and it wouldn't have been a big thing to miss, but at the same time, it's like, I just, I paid for a flight. I flew home and did that and got right back on a flight and went to the next state, but those are the things that your family, the people closest to you, are going to appreciate in the long run, and it goes into what Yolanda said about hope. Just, you kind of hope and pray that you're doing what you're doing, and the people that are closest to you, when you get to your goal, or when you get to that exhale point at the end of your career, that they're not going to resent the things that, the house that you built for them, right? Or everything that you kind of, the college that you put them through, or the whatever, you just pray, you just hope and pray, because it's been so many times that you see people and they are, these rich and famous people, but they hate their parents and they hate their family, and they just want to, like, detach from everything. So.
Yeah, so we are at time, but before we go, I know we had a lot of people from the audience. Alexis, I just want you to know that, so maybe that's something that you could help the people with, via your social media challenges, because I asked you the same thing. My house was attacked by fungus gnats that love to eat dead plants and dirt and moist dirt and all those sorts of things. So you need to do like an Instagram live or something that is teaching people about plants and how to manage plant pests. But before we go, I need you all to let the people know, the virtual audience know, how to find you.
My website is, sorry, can y'all hear me?
No, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. My website is leafme.co, leafme.co, and you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at leafmeco, all one phrase.
Shall I go next? All right. You can find me at roll_spit on Instagram, Burn Rubber Detroit, the burnrubbersneakers.com, and that's pretty much it. I will be looking up Leaf Me Co, because as you can see behind me, I have a bunch of fake plants. That's what I do. But I bought a plant. I bought a plant for the store, and it died a horrible death. And I tried to. They told me to put mayonnaise on the leaves and all this other crazy stuff. I don't know.
Okay, we gonna talk.
Bro,
talk about that.
We gonna work it out.
Alexis, obviously, how can people find you in Cream Blends?
You want me?
Unmute.
Sorry, I was acting like an auntie, the ones on Zoom that's always muted. You can find me on creamblends.com, distinctlife.com, at creamblends, and at distinctlife on Instagram.
Thank you. And Asia?
Yes, you can find Norwest Gallery at Nor West Gallery. You can find us at norwestgallery.com, Norwest at Facebook, Norwest on Facebook, Norwest all things. You can find me specifically at photo.sensei if you want to see some hot photography. That's where it's at. And also, real shameless plug, not really shameless. We had our opening last night for the griot, so come through and check out the griot. It's an amazing exhibit for Black History Month. All Black artists, let's go.
That's what I was going to ask you, Asia, if you were open.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, Asia, if you were open and if you are allowing people to come in for tours.
Yes, we are. Definitely. We're open today from 12 to 4 o'clock. Bring your Valentine. I'm here from 12 to 4. I'll be sitting right in this spot. Maybe I'll pivot, turn around a little bit, be eating some snacks or something, but I'll be here and come in and see some of this amazing arts. We got Barber, Black Sneakers, Bree Grant, Carrie Young, Chris St. Martin, Dr. Sean Foreman, Aaron Whitaker, Mandisa, Onita Jackson, Philip Simpson, Shirley Woodson, Takesha Jefferson, and myself, Asia Hamilton, in the exhibit.
That's so dope. All right, Yolanda.
I just wanted to say before we end it, shout out to Sarita. So Sarita is the reason why I found out about this event with the Detroit Institute of Arts. I'm all for, collaboration and us plugging our people. So Sarita and Phil, Smile Brand, thank you. And I love y'all.
Yes, shout out to Sarita and her curation on the back end of this panel and inviting many of us here. Thank you to the DIA for assembling this panel and giving us a platform, as well as the opportunity to share more about entrepreneurship, Black business. And thank you all. And, I think we are over time. So Sharon and Gwen, I know that you all are on the back end in the private chat. Are we good to wrap? Because I could ask another question, but I think that we are good to wrap. So thank you, Yolanda, Cream Blends, Distinct Life. I'm representing Distinct Life today with my Inspire hoodie.
Hey.
Shout out to Rick Williams and Alexis. Please do not forget us. You definitely have high demand of people wanting to know about and wanting to hear from you about how to care for plants. Asia,
I'm headed to the comments
thank you
right
for
now.
all that you're doing. Going to bring art and good and Ro, thank you for all that you have. All right, I guess that's a wrap. I think Sharon might be frozen, but thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you again to the DIA and to all of the sponsors of this panel this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Did a great job.
Love, love, love. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining in. I hope you enjoyed the wonderful conversation. Thank you, Jasmine, and thank you, Alexis, Asia, Roland, and Yolanda. And thank you, Sarita, for putting this panel on the table. I loved coordinating the execution of this. It was a great discussion. And I hope the viewers gain some insights. And thank you, our funders. So this program wouldn't be possible without the support of Aaron and Nancy Tellum and TD Bank. And hopefully you'll come back next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. for Wind Down Wednesday with Chef Angela Michelle and mixologist Devin Clark. And be sure to visit the DIA website for all Black History Month programming and current exhibitions. Thank you and see you soon.